Good night, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I trust from that round of applause that you would have heard and seen a little more clearly than I have here, because right now I'm just seeing some of you, and I heard some sounds, but I didn't hear the clarity. But I trust that you would have heard. So, ladies and gentlemen, we did start with local government. But permit me to acknowledge my cabinet colleagues, members of the House, members of the Senate, and most importantly, our standard bearers out here in Sangre Grande and the Eastern District. All of them who are tonight, we are so proud to have them out in the field representing the People's National Movement. We have an election coming up on Monday, and I'm particularly pleased to be out here this election week because there is a tradition in the 21st century that regardless of what election we engage in, the PNM must be in Sangre Grande election week. So I'm here to ensure that that is it. You, the people of this very large part of the country, with this one very important constituency, Toko Sangre Grande, and of course the Sangre Grande Corporation. While you are probably the most rural of districts in Trinidad, you are also the most sought after and most exciting. Sangre Grande represents all of Trinidad and Tobago, every aspect of this country. Cosmopolitan, diverse, agriculture, township, village, sea, mountain, rivers, forest, all of that is Sangre Grande, and we are so proud to represent you in the Parliament. We are so proud to represent you in the corporation, and we will be even prouder to have majority control in the Sangre Grande Corporation on Monday. But we are here because there's a local government election on Monday, August 14th. But I want to just make a few comments about central government and the Eastern District. Because you see, we of the PNM say to you out here that elections are important. Elections have consequences. Political parties who come to you make a commitment because development is an ongoing process. In the poorest country, in the richest country, development of the country, of the people, is an ongoing process. And that is why, since we were here with you last, we could point at the level of the central government to the major aspects of development taking place in and around Sangre Grande. We are still close to completing the major highway into Sangre Grande. That work has been going on, and we are almost there. And one of these days in the not too distant future, the central government will open to you that highway into Sangre Grande, which will link you to the capital city. You would also have seen the high quality of road improvement from Valencia to the edge of the Toko Road, because we have embarked upon a commitment to bring high quality road access all the way into Toko. And of course, we are on the drawing board to protecting the roadway from Toko to Matufto out to Matlot, protecting those areas in particular where the sea is eroding. And we have a plan in the Ministry of Works which we are actively engaged on to actually have the Ministry of Works operate its own quarry. Because we've sourced the stone, we've found it, we just have to know how to operate that quarry to provide all the stone protection works and road improvement and upgrade from Toko to Matlot. You would have seen, those of you who have been inside of Sangre Grande, you would have seen us in the process of constructing the nation's newest hospital, which is to be completed during this year 2023, a brand new Sangre Grande hospital. And of course, on the southeastern corner, you would have seen the terrible destruction that took place on the Manzanilla Road by the sea and the river during that period of extreme weather condition. The road literally was destroyed, cutting off Sangre Grande from Mayaru. And that road, as you know, is built between the Nariva swamp and the sea. So it's a narrow ribbon of dry land on which that road was built. So when the sea broke up that road and the river flooded it, you couldn't go left because you're going into the sea. You couldn't go right because you're going into the swamp. And the Ministry of Works has this very technical job of reconstructing a road between the sea and the Nariva swamp. I saw some people who are inconvenienced, and I'm sure we all feel their frustrations, because to be cut off and to have to go through a very bad temporary road could really, bruise your patience. And sometimes some people get so impatient that they would like others to hear about their impatience. We saw that last night, but the most important thing is that the designs are complete, the contractors are on the job, and in the not too distant future, there will be a new smooth connection between Manzanilla and Mayaru. Problem solved. But this is all central government responsibility. What about local government? What can we now do in local government? If we examine local government, since the last election to now, what can we point to that local government has done or has become to have further development and see some increase in whatever in Sangre Grande? What? We had an election in 2019. We had new people in the seats. Terry is no longer there. A new chairman is there. They may have tried as hard as they could. But the bottom line is, we're still walking in the same footprints, in the same place. And according to some people, this election on August 14th is to be the same thing. Let's have the election. They say they will win it. And then we'll do the same thing we did between 2019 and 2023. And what is that? What is it? What are you going to look forward to on the 15th of August? If they tell you, leave it just so. Let's go through another 3 years. Or 4 years for that matter. And at the end of 4 years, we'll have another election. And we'll fight again. And we'll argue again. And we'll have red, we'll have yellow, we'll have black, and we'll have blue, and we'll have green. And the PNM will win again. And then what? Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm painting for you is a picture of stasis. But we want to move forward. And you in Sangre Grande would have known that this was an intention of the PNM from a very long time ago. Because there was an understanding amongst us in the cities, in the boroughs, in the corporations, that our local government system was not delivering in the way that we expect, in the way we believe that we could, and it is literally an obsolete system which requires review and transformation. So what did we do? We came out and consulted with you. Your very own Franklin Khan, who went to school right here in Northeastern College, and who lived down the road in Mayaru. He led that at one time. We spent years in this process of preparation, talking to you, the people, hearing about your frustration, receiving your bright ideas as to what should be done, letting us know what you will tolerate in terms of changes. And out of that, the Attorney General's department went and amended a number of laws, packaged them, and created a new local government bill. We took it to the Parliament. And we had a committee, looked at it, we brought it to the Parliament, and of course, as is to be expected, even though during the consultation, a lot of the UNC persons, leaders, practitioners in local government, they supported and advocated that we bring about this local government reform that the consultative period indicated should be the next action of the government. They're all there. We have 7 corporations where the PNM has the majority. There are 7 corporations where the UNC has the majority. But during the consultation process, we were virtually lockstep. In Trinidad, where the majority view was that local government reform is what is required. So, why it wasn't supported in the Parliament by the UNC is for them to explain. But fortunately, Sangre Grande, you gave us the majority in the Parliament, and by majority vote, the PNM enacted a piece of legislation to bring about local government reform. The election is now upon us. Not only are our opponents not supporting the reform that we should vote for on the 14th of August, but they are saying that if we make the necessary changes that are required to be made in 2023, and they win the election in 2025, they will reverse it. That's what we're facing. You, in the consultative process, you have said you want local government reform. The PNM, through the legislation passed in the Parliament by majority vote, is saying, we will give you what you requested. The UNC is lying in wait, saying that they will undo it. And how will they do that? If they have the majority in the Parliament, they could do a lot of it. But what they're targeting most of all, in trying to be popular with you, even though it is to your detriment, they're saying to you that if you agree to have the reform take place, and the major lifeblood of that reform, which is to be you here in the corporation and elsewhere in Trinidad, at the household level, you will make a small contribution called land and building taxes. If you own land, you'll pay a little tax on it. If you own a house, you'll pay a little tax on it. And because a lot of people would be paying a little bit each, there will be a significant pot of money for the corporation to always have access to. They have gone further. They have said that if that is allowed to happen, they will reverse it if they come into office. They have been campaigning on central government issues throughout. And they are threatening you with central government action if they manage to win the election in 2025. But then, we are saying to you, the people, let's get going in 2023 by saying to these people, we know you are taking that position only because of politics and only because you want office, but you don't want anything good for Sangre Grande and for Trinidad. Otherwise, you would have stayed with the consultative process. And we are putting you on notice now that they're lying, as usual, about what will happen with the finances. There's one Joe Tony. You know who is the leader, Tony? Right. He was on television the other day, acting on behalf of whoever is his leader, telling the country, telling you in local government that this is a scam and what you're going to collect from the taxes is all that you will get in local government. And that would mean that central government will not be giving you any money in the corporation and you'll be worse off with the new arrangement. Let me make it abundantly clear, since Joe Tony has joined the line of lying to the population. What you will have is a revenue stream which you will control. You will collect the taxes and you will keep it in the corporation. I heard another one this morning saying that, well, you will collect the taxes, but you have to send it to the Minister of Finance, and then the Minister of Finance will decide what to give you back. That is not true. Whatever you collect, you will keep. And that will only be one aspect of the revenue that will be in the corporation, but it will be the revenue that you control. You will also be entitled to receive an allocation from the Ministry of Finance as he makes the allocation from the national budget. Because the national budget, the government gets revenue from oil, from gas, from PAYE taxes, from other sources, and will still share it with you at local government. So you will still get that. But because you're getting the local taxes and you're getting the central government taxes, you wouldn't be hand to mouth on any one day where if there's a pothole on a street, or if there's a field to be cut, or any other immediate small works to be done, that you will not be able to do it. You will be able to do it on an ongoing basis. And that alone should give you the picture of how the local government authority in the new arrangement would be better off than the last one that is going out of office. And those are the undisputed facts. But because they have misbehaved in the parliament, because they have chosen a campaign of lies and misinformation, they cannot do the easy thing and say, yes, both opposition and government in Trinidad and Tobago are engaged in this whole transformation, and they have to find something to say. This is not only local government reform, it is local government transformation. You're transforming the corporation from an entity that could only tell you about what they can't do to one that will have the ability to show you what they can do because you have made that significant change. Ladies and gentlemen, this political football of property tax, which, as they are threatening now, if you make the transformation, they will reverse it if they get into government. They did that in 2010. And between 2010 and 2015, they played politics with the country's revenues and refused to collect the tax. But when they were leaving office in 2015, just before you kicked them out, they abandoned and annulled they gave an amnesty. They ended the amnesty in 2015. Before September 2015, they took action to end the amnesty, and had they won the election in 2015, when they came back into office in September 2015, they had said to you, and they most certainly would have been collecting the tax. We came into office on September 8, 2015. And every one of us ministers here, Marvin Gonzalez, Camille Robinson Regis, Rohan Sinan, every one of us had to take an oath of office in the parliament and at the President's house before any of us could have been saying to ourselves or to you that we are a minister of government. What we were required to do in that oath was to swear to uphold the Constitution and the law and to act without fear or favor, without malice or ill will. That is the oath of office in Trinidad and Tobago. And what is the law with respect to land and building taxes? That it is in force and you collect it. The reason why it has not been collected is because the same UNC that said in 2015 that the amnesty is now ended and that your taxes are now due, went to the court and made representation in the court against it. But that is not new. That is what the UNC does. There's one former UNC Attorney General who piloted a law to do with children in the parliament. He piloted the bill. He spoke in defense of it. He was responsible for every single clause in the parliament during the committee stage to ensure that the law, the minute he lost his job in the most disgraceful way he did, you know what he did? He goes to court and is opposing the very law that he passed in the parliament a few months before. I did not tell you about the Caribbean Court of Justice, where they got full support in this country from the PNM and most people to bring the headquarters to Port of Spain. The headquarters of the Caribbean Court of Justice is on Charlotte Street in Port of Spain in Trinidad and Tobago. But the very political party that led the charge to bring the headquarters here, the minute they lose the election in 2015, they flatly refuse to do anything about making the Caribbean Court of Justice the final court of appeal. They find all kinds of reasons to oppose it. And so it is with local government reform. Talk at will, have a lot to say, be experts in the discussions on local government reform. And now that the thing is supposed to go into force, they're in the opposition. They want no part of it and are threatening you that if it is put into being, they will reverse it when they come into office. Well, Sangre Grande, you have a habit of doing something. I want you to do it again. In 2025, make sure that they get the same result that they got in 2020. Because they told you what they're going to do. They're threatening to reverse your development. Local government reform, if it is to benefit any corporation in this country, should benefit Sangre Grande Corporation more than any other. Because you will know that you are not better off with somebody in Port of Spain controlling what you do here in Sangre Grande down to the micro level, where you have been complaining at corporation level. One, that you never have enough resources. Two, you have to wait for decisions to be made in Port of Spain by persons who don't know that you're here or you don't know that they're there. You also have tremendous resources which are underutilized, and a corporation that is properly resourced with good management, that corporation could bring into being a new Sangre Grande where agriculture, fisheries, tourism, small business, forestry, all of these things could be Sangre Grande's strength in local corporation. Central government is spending money on the highway, but you have a number of byways which you can develop to bring lands into operation. We're talking about food security. This corporation, more than many other, is in a position to get involved in food production in such a way that you will contribute significantly to the nation's food security, because you have the land, you have the water, you have the forest, you have the sea. You are to be a food basket in Trinidad and Tobago. But you need a local government body that is modernized, that is transformed. And more than that, you need to put people in local government who are not going there to provoke the police. As I speak to you now, among the outgoing members on the other side are 3 people, one of whom was arrested and 2 others the police interested in for skullduggery with the little money you all have in Sangre Grande. 3 out of how many? Is 8 seats, right? We have 3. They have 5. 3 out of 5 is how much? Yeah? Is the majority. So the majority of the UNC people in the corporation in San Grande are police subjects. Police interested in them. What you want them for? To go back and hide their tracks, to continue their misconduct and their shameless behavior? Well, you know, they say monkey see, monkey do. What you're seeing in the corporation here and that behavior is what they see at the parliamentary level. So they believe if mama could do it, and papa could do it, and uncle could do it, right? They could do it too. And I'm saying to you, the voter in San Grande, you have no interest in that. You have no interest in them because they have no interest in you except in what you have in the little kitty there. So when you go to vote on Monday, do not vote back any of those people that let them go and spend the time with the police. Let them go and spend their time with their bail. This is serious time, it's serious business. We have given you most excellent candidates, people from your community of the highest caliber, people of integrity, good quality personnel. Vote for them, vote PNM. So in Tokos and in San Grande Corporation, we're starting with that. We're talking about new management, we're talking about house cleaning, we're talking about people who will not see your assets as belonging to them insofar as they have to be talking to the police. And if it was this corporation alone, you could have said it was an accident. Remember Mayaro? Remember the chairman of the Mayaro Corporation? Who was charged? And the one here in San Grande was charged. So while at the level of the parliament, there are people who have to answer for millions, at the level of the corporation, there are people who have to answer for 10,000s. Ladies and gentlemen, this is transformation time. San Grande, lead the way towards local government reform.
Thank you, Dr. Rowley. Indeed, discussing how local government transformation through local government reform can benefit all regions, all communities, including Sangre Grande. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will now shift to the question and answer segment. My name is Vyash Nandlal, and I will be your moderator for this section and this segment of our conversation. Before we proceed, allow me to lay some ground rules. We have a mic at the middle here, and persons interested in and willing to ask a question, make a comment. Indeed, Dr. Rowley's discourse, I am sure, would have stimulated your minds and gotten a lot of questions going and comments potentially made. So, we are asking that you stand up, or you raise your hand, or you could form a very orderly line at the mic there. We are asking persons to limit themselves to one question at a time. But I know even in the early part, there are persons here representing large groups as well. So I will give a little leeway where I may determine leeway should be given. We are asking that you limit your questions to roughly within 1 minute. I know individuals tend to give a long preamble. We are asking that you limit the preamble and be very direct in your questioning. Most of all, we are asking in asking your questions and making your comments to be respectful and be courteous. I know that individuals may want to go through our very long protocol list and indeed recognize the Prime Minister, the various ministers, the MPs. simply saying all protocols observed will suffice. We are also asking that you give your name and your location, whether it be by region or constituency, as you come up to ask your question, and also if you represent any organization that you recognize and identify that organization. So ladies and gentlemen, as we go forward, we also ask that this is really a forum, a conversation to discuss local government reform, local government transformation. We also have in front of us the local government election, and Dr. Rowley would have just given a very enlightening discourse on the topic. So we ask that we keep it within these parameters, although I know there are a number of issues that may be outside of local government reform, but still connected. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I open the floor now to questions, comments, and any interaction so we could commence this conversation with Dr. Rowley. I see we have someone at the front there already. So you could state your name and location.
Pleasant good night. My name is Neil Joseph from San Grande South, Komoto Manzilina constituency. And my first question to the Prime Minister is, seeing that we're getting closer and closer to outrule local government reform, and in this region, young people, the rate of the young persons unemployed, how will this impact the young people in terms of jobs in the community? I know that there's a Ministry of Youth national service that you put there, but how we intend to deal with the unemployment at the youth level?
Well, the first thing is that if we are going to do the transformation that we are speaking of, that we are committed to, that will take place, it will be to bring about improved management. And for there to be improved management, the new structure in local government will require some additional skills. So let's start with that. There will be the need for some broadening of existing skills, some deepening of existing skills, and for introduction of new skills. There also would be opportunity for the corporation to do more than it is doing now, which is taking more responsibility. And as the corporation takes on more responsibility in this process of devolution of responsibility from central government to local government, you would need more people to discharge those responsibilities that the corporation is now taking on. And what will come to the corporation as well are the resources from central government to allow you to take on those new responsibilities. For example, let us suppose that the new transforms San Grande Corporation, well set, structure in place, and enters into an arrangement, or by MOU or by cabinet devolution, says that the San Grande Corporation will be responsible for school maintenance throughout the corporation. You know what that means? It means that from the high school in Matlot all the way down to the south of this corporation and all the schools in this district, somebody in the corporation would have to be managing that arrangement. Somebody will have to be there to ensure that the goods and services and the procuring of small contractors to do that maintenance is there. And the people who will carry out that maintenance are either going to be corporation workers or contractors workers, because you are now going to be doing something which the corporation was not doing before. Right now the corporation does not maintain schools. So if a toilet is clogged in Matlot, who goes up there and fixes it? Who has the ultimate responsibility? It's the Ministry of Education in Port of Spain. And you could imagine the rigmarole between Port of Spain, past Arima, to come to San Grande, to make your way up to Matlot, if somebody has to do an inspection before a commitment to a funding If there's a landslide on the road somewhere, on a side road somewhere, you're not sure if it's the Ministry of Works. In fact, nowadays, all roads call on the Ministry of Works, which is not really how it's supposed to be. The Ministry of Works is really supposed to be responsible for main roads, right? And through access. All the secondary roads and all the agricultural access roads are to be local government roads. And I don't have to tell you how many of them are not being serviced for one reason or the other, not the least of which is reduced resources and poor management. Even when you have resources, because of the poor management, the resources are not made to deliver. So if you have improved management, proper auditing, and a flow of resources, then you can address those issues. So I see in all of that, and I will just give you one example. I can give you another example. Let's take afforestation. This Sangre Grande Corporation could, by policy, set about to say every year on lands, either state lands or on private lands which we'll enter into arrangement with, we will plant 100 acres of cultivated forests called agroforest. Means that you have seedlings, so you're going to have a nursery where you produce the seedlings of apple-mat, mahogany, cedar, pine, whatever. And you hire people, not in an ordinary make-work program, but in a program of support where they do the work, but they produce the seedlings. And you set about to plant 100 acres for the year. At the end of the year, you should be able to show 100 acres of mahogany. 5 years later, you should be able to show somebody 500 acres of forest. By the time that forest gets to 15 to 20 years, it's worth its weight in gold. Not to mention all the hillsides that you will retain, all the bushfires that you will not have, because you'll be protecting the forest, and of course it's an asset that grows and increases and improves. In the meantime, providing valuable and good jobs for people who the corporation is supporting. So you get involved in that. I didn't mention teak, but that's one of the more popular species that we have had an example of. We have teak forests in this country that were planted in the 1940s, which today they're being harvested over and over and over. I don't know how many of you know, when you cut down a teak tree and it's taken to the sawmill, what you leave there, the stump behind, 5, 6, 8 shoots come up. It recouples itself. Once you plant it, when you harvest it, the forest regenerates itself from the stump. That happens only with teak. But mahogany, high quality, pine, we're importing pine now from America and from Venezuela, paying in US currency. Why can't we plant more pines? We are harvesting some pine in this country, but those pines were planted in the days when people worked for the money they got. We got to go back to that, to do actual work for what you're getting. And at the end of the year, you could point and said, this corporation during that last year have done this, have done that, have done the other. That is management, and that is policy. And these are only some of the things that local government can do once you set about to do it with a proper management system in place, proper transparency, and proper accountability.
Thank you, Dr. Rowley. I see we have another question here, so you could state your name and location.
Certainly. Good night. My name is Wayne Huggins. I'm the president of the Sangre Grande Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, Dr. Rowley, to Sangre Grande.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure that you're here. This is the best part of Trinidad.
I agree with you.
Nice. Nice. We are the chamber.
I don't know if you know that I spent a number of my formative years in this region. I was the first employee of National Quarries, and I eventually ran National Quarries for years.
Nice, nice.
So I know what a good Sangre Grande River lime is like.
Nice, nice.
I love you too.
Mr. Prime Minister, we at the Chamber support reform, local government reform. We have been the victims of bad local government in Sangre Grande. A lot of neglect, and we're looking for reform. A lot of what you spoke about is very exciting to me. I'm very passionate about Sangre Grande. And when I hear what you're saying, the promises that will happen in terms of the reform, I'm excited. We have problems right now with the existing local government where certain things which should be done are not done. We have a problem, for example, with squatting and homelessness. Those two are interrelated. We have a problem with street vending and other issues in terms of physical planning laws, adherence to this, which can be addressed right now, which are not being addressed. And that is terrible. It's taking a toll on all resources and making us poor in this part. So we are looking forward to that. We are very happy with the investments in Sangre Grande. And I'm here with hat in hand to beg for more of that, because we need it to grow our economy here, to get more jobs, to get everything going. Simple things, for example, we need ports, pop-up fishing. We have fishing ports, but we have no jetties. Fishermen still drag their boats up on shore. Those things need to be looked at, for example. We have lots of lovely beaches, but there's a problem with lifeguards. Probably through the reform, we can look at that as being part of the responsibility of local government dealing with those issues. I don't want to hog the mic, but this is some of the issues that come at me. I have other questions, but I'll let others answer, and then I'll come back again. Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister.
Thank you very much. What we are hearing from the chairman of the chamber there is that there are so many possibilities once we are willing to put our minds to it and to engage them. What can we do? And once the corporation is prepared to accept the responsibility, the sky is the limit to what corporations can engage in order to satisfy their burgesses and to improve the quality of life in the district. That's what we're all about.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rowley. We have another question here.
Good night, Dr. Rowley. My name is Aisha Ali. I am representing Sangre Grande Northwest. My question will be, from my observation, I observed that Mr. Jack Warner joined with Ms. Kamala Persad-Bissessor and the opposition. I would like to know if a man with extradition charges is allowed to be in politics.
Ladies and gentlemen, let us not be troubled by the resurrection of Jack Warner. All that you are seeing there in the shocking reversal of positions between Mr. Warner, the UNC, the leader of the UNC, and so on, that boils down to one simple thing. Jack Warner has some serious extradition difficulties. He wants to be with people who would make a deal that he will not be extradited. So from the time he is able to make that deal, Section 35 we could call it, because you know what Section 34 was? Section 34 was Mrs. Kamala Persad-Bissessor using the parliament, leading as prime minister, a cabinet to amend, to proclaim a law, in fact a clause in a law, in the dead of night, so that people who had extradition problems would escape the court in America. So Jack Warner has the same problem. So who do you expect him to run to? Who will strike a deal with him? Shocking as it is, more than the people who have demonstrated that it is not beyond them to prevent people from going to court by offering them sanction from extradition. They've done it before, And what you're seeing there is them attempting to do it again. My advice to you is to ignore Jack Warner, but keep your eye on the UNC that is prepared to make that kind of deal.
Thank you. We have another question here. Again, state your name and location.
Good evening, Dr. Rowley. My name is Malaika Rambrat, and today I am representing Komoso Tamina. So I must say, the People's National Movement have some excellent social media pages running, and from time to time, I would see a lot of ads coming up on my pages, and it is portraying reform to be an extremely powerful thing. They are saying that it is the greatest power shift since independence. So what I would like you to do tonight is explain how exactly this is going to improve the quality of life of the people of Sangre Grande specifically. How will it work for us?
I must say I missed the main point. You said you saw something. What did you say you saw?
Oh, there are a lot of like ads going around, you know, talking about the reform, that kind of thing. So I would like you to explain how it's going to enhance the lives of the people of Sangre Grande, the quality of our lives.
Well, what we're trying to do is to educate people that change could bring about improvement and that change is available. This is a conversation with the population, a population that has been quite long-suffering. It's been a long time that we have been saying that yes, we want local government, because local government decision making at the local level is a good thing for us. And that if we can get what we think local government can deliver, then we are in agreement that it should be done. So those things that you see going around is saying to people, come on board and let us do it now. And what we have been talking about is with us now. What we thought we could have done so many years ago, it wasn't done, it is being done now, or it could be made to be done now. So this is where the excitement is, that come Monday, you should go out there and vote for local government and tell yourself that you are supporting and being part of that change that is going to transform Trinidad and Tobago in a substantial way. Because what is on offer here is central government willing to give up a significant portion of its authority for servicing the country to local government. And that comes with the resources that go with that too. Because if school maintenance of the Matlot School or the Guayco School was being funded from Ministry of Education, and we are saying going forward in 2023, 2024, we will then reconfigure the whole maintenance program and have school maintenance being done by the new transformed Sangre Grande Corporation, then responsibility would have come and resources would have come to Sangre Grande, and with that opportunity would have come to Sangre Grande. That's what we're talking about.
Thank you, Dr. Rowley. I see we have another question here. You can just state your name and location, sir.
Shelton Lewis, Guayco Sangre Grande, all protocols observed. Sir, my observation is that over the years, you have had to put up with a proliferation of flagrant verbal abuse and character assassination. You and your entire family. What I'm observing now is that the aforementioned ills have now taken a turn for the worst. It is now clear to me that those on the other side are now embracing violent language and spewing it as their election campaign. I also believe a lot of it is geared towards you. As a concerned citizen, sir, I would like to know how you and your family is coping with this scenario as it unfolds.
Well, let me just say that I am blessed with a family that I'm very proud of, and a family, especially my wife and my children, who are very supportive of whatever I set out to do. It has been so, and it continues to be so. With respect, I have been in public life now for very many decades, and as you have said, it seems to be getting worse. I've been in Parliament with Hochoy Charles, I've been there with Basdio Pandey, I've been there with Kelvin Ramnath and Selby Wilson. These are people I was on the opposite side of, but we at least could have had a drink together and talked together and so on. What is happening today is the poisonous hatred that has replaced camaraderie in the Parliament. You see it in the nastiest of personal attacks, because the current population of these people believe that this knockout punch, this slander of an individual, this busting a mark on an individual will destroy such a person. Unfortunately, I have been a target, but on every occasion they've missed the mark. So while it is annoying and it is dangerous, because if I am not able to clear my name, eventually I will be slandered. But you may ask yourself, why is this being done? You know, it is said that, you know why it is said that a thief hates to see a man with a bag? Because if you know you're a thief and you see a man with a bag, you're going to come to the conclusion that whatever he has in that bag, he stole it. And if on the other hand, you know what you have done when you were in office, you know what you have done, then it is quite logical for you to assume that other people in office are doing the same thing that you did. And that is what drives it. That is why you have all these allegations. But I can tell you, sir, tonight, that I have led a government for 8 years in Trinidad and Tobago, and not one of the ministers in my cabinet is a subject of any police investigation for fraud or any criminal conduct. And that seems to be bothering some people. So if it is not so, they want to make it so. Because if they are able to say that we are doing the same thing, then they believe that will minimize the exposure that they have for what they have done. Because they spent 5 years in government, and I don't have enough fingers and toes to count the amount of them who are of interest to the police and the courthouse. And I could tell you, the very fact that this cabinet is not in that situation is an improvement in Trinidad and Tobago.
Thank you, Dr. Rowley. I see we have some more questions. In fact, we have a line of questions. So I know we have a lot of eager and inquisitive persons here today. So if you could just give your name and location, ma'am.
Pleasant good evening. All protocols observed. My name is Kurlan Garrisons, and I am from the Toko Sani Grande area.
Could I ask you to speak a little closer to the mic, because I'm having difficult. I want to hear you clearly. Thank you.
Okay, this is better?
Yeah, much better.
Right. Dr. Rowley, there are lots of talented people in Sani Grande, and my question to you is, will the local government reform help in any way for business grants? And if so, in the aspect of timely manner? Thank you.
In aspects of what?
A timely manner. Business grants.
Business?
Grants.
Grants?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Well, as I said, if there's any area that would benefit from the transformation of local government, it is this large eastern corner, because you are in fact virgin territory. There are resources in a variety of locations within the government system which made available to more people in Sangre Grande and its environs to get involved in the various kinds of small business, to encourage them in entrepreneurship. In some instances, you may be the producer of the raw material out here, or because you have become more connected, more easily connected to the rest of the country, that things that are not now happening in Sangre Grande could begin to happen because you have easier access. You still have some potential for the cocoa industry. We talk about cocoa rehabilitation or even the establishment of new fields. Where else could it be better done than in the eastern corner here, and all the way around the north coast? We talk about tourism. Our north coast, from Cumana, from Rampanalgas, all the way to Matlot, that is virtually untapped tourist potential, including some of the nicest beaches in the country. The environmental aspect of turtle watching, which is going on, can grow. And of course, in the town of Sangre Grande, young people, and I agree with you, that you're full of skills, like the other part of the country, but you here, your skills are untapped. And therefore, we're waiting to see you blossom and bloom. And the opportunity is there. We have NEDCO, we have the Ministry of Trade encouraging you. We will want to hear what you are going to do in the new environment. And of course, you have your new hospital coming. You'll have staff going there. They need support. Your agricultural department, you may have agro-processing in the far south corner. We're encouraging agro-processing in Moruga. We spent $90-odd million in establishing an agro-park in Moruga. Why can't we not do the same thing in the northeastern corner up here and encourage you to produce the raw material? And in that agro-park will be opportunities for a series of small businesses known and unknown to me right now. So the opportunities are there and will come once we commit to making the transformation.
Thank you. We have another question here.
Good evening, everyone. All protocols observed. Good night, Honorable Prime Minister.
Good night.
My name is Elizabeth Wharton, the former councillor for Sangre Grande Northwest in the period of 2016 to 2019. I must say that local government is the right step in this time of the political climate and season, and it's in the form of a right direction. On many in your meetings, a lot of opportunities would have been highlighted, mainly like for contractors and other persons. My question tonight, Honorable Prime Minister, our flag bearers will be installed at the Sangre Grande Corporation because we are claiming we are taking it back from the UNC, those culprits. The question is, local government reform allows a lot of opportunities for employment, whereas we spoke about the practical and opportunities for contractors. Would the councillors, when they are elected, would they have a special team of persons working like in an administrative forms, because there are different pillars and some would be implemented, like you would have mentioned, school, the education system, social development, and so forth, when we follow the pillars of the local government reform. So would the councillors have special team from burgesses in their community to form that team in order to enhance and make their work easier and spread the work across the field and not just isolate with just trade and whatnot, because we have a lot of educated people in Toko Sangre Grande. Thank you.
Well, I couldn't say at this time specifically what the councillors will do at councillor level, but what I could say is that there will be a clarified and effective organization structure in the new transformed corporation. And in that structure, certain responsibilities will be identified, and then you put bodies to go with those responsibilities. Either bodies that are there now or bodies that you'll have to add and apply. And then in the new arrangement, there is a requirement for the executive council there to have a kind of interaction, town halls, where people can interact with the councillor to ensure that what is going on at council is known and supported or opposed by the community, because you have to do it with a certain amount of exposure. And what that does, it adds an involvement of the community to the posts. And therefore the councillors, there'll be a requirement for the councillors to be accountable for what they do. Right? So you ought to be getting less of behind closed doors narrowness. And because they are going to become more accountable, you will then be able to choose and reject more effectively at election time. You choose people on performance, and you pick what you support, policies and programs which are put to you by the corporation. So because you will know more about the innards of the corporation, and that you will, I hope, you will come out and interact with your council, because it's easy for people to say, I don't know my councillor, I never see my councillor, but ask them, have you ever gone to a meeting that was called? And if the answer is no, well then you are keeping yourself away. But if no meetings are being called for the community, well then that is a new arrangement that needs to be put in place. So the future should be different and be better.
Thank you, Dr. Rowley. And we have another question here.
Good night. Good night,
Good night.
Mr. Prime Minister.
Good night.
This question is, well, my name is Grace Smith from Northwest. But this question is about the reform pertaining to the corporation in San Grande. If the racket and so on will be controllable.
I didn't get that. If the what?
I said that how the corporation in San Grande, if the racket with the reform will be controllable.
Well,
because pertaining to the racket in San Grande is like pertaining to the toilet facilities where they clean your toilet and they do PJ. Testing. Yes, Mr. Prime Minister, pertaining to the toilet facilities that they do, you have to go and pay a fee in the corporation to get your toilet clean. But I don't know what is the cost, but they take the truck and do PJ and they charge $600. So I wonder if the reform will control the racket in the corporation. That's my question. And then I have one more issue. That I have a daughter working in the health department. She working there 14 years now. And she wanted transfer to come to San Grande to work because she's a diabetic. And one of her eyes is going bad and she has to travel from Grande to St. Raphael. And she go to all institute. We went to Roger Monroe too on the issue. He said he knows somebody, and he will get up to some woman to help her out because she really does drive her vehicle to go down to St. Raphael. And she go to different people and she get no reward. That is in the health sector.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your two questions, right? The first one, if I understand you clearly, you're asking whether local government reform would bring an end to the racketeering in the corporation. And my answer is that it should. Because with better management, and more importantly, when you begin to have the corporation collect your local taxes, you will want to make sure that they don't spend it in that kind of way. And systems will have to be put in place for accountability. So if the truck goes out to do cleansing, the management ought to be able to control what that asset does and what charges go along. And of course, if there's corruption in it, then it should be identified and action taken. So those are the kinds of things that we expect to see tighter management and better management bring some kind of relief to. But you always have, doesn't matter what system you're operating, there are always people who are trying to do things outside of the law or outside of the regulation. So I can't tell you it wouldn't happen, but I expect that it will be significantly reduced or eliminated by an improved management. On the question of your daughter, if she's a public servant, then transfers are probably available sometime, but I will inquire from the MP what the issue is, and if, because of her health condition, certain adjustments can be made, then we'll have to talk to the people who have the authority to consider that adjustment. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rowley. I see the former councillor there, but if you might permit me there, former councillor, of course this is airing, this conversation is airing nationally as well too, so we also have questions coming in from the national community through social media. Dr. Rowley, I have a question here from Mr. Pierce Robinson, and it relates to local government reform. How is it going to address the disparities in regional development to ensure that growth and opportunities are equitably distributed across the country, benefiting both the rural and the urban communities?
Well, we do have a current arrangement where what is coming to local government from the consolidated fund, the ministry looks at the needs of the community, and there's a bit of balancing that takes place, and each corporation gets an allocation depending, one, on the standard requirements, and two, on the size of the corporation. But now, when you're collecting land and building taxes, which would be another component to the revenues of corporation, that would be dependent on what is inside the corporation. So for example, Toko, Sadi Grande, you have a dispersed community, and you do have a lot of dwelling houses that are not very expensive, but some of them would pay a small contribution because it is graded that way, and you will have that, and then of course you will get a consideration from the Ministry of Finance. So the Ministry of Finance will continue to do that apportioning based on needs. So if a corporation is collecting a lot of money, then it should be making less of a claim on the consolidated fund, even though there will still be an allocation from the consolidated fund. If a corporation does not collect a lot of money from its local contributions, then the consolidated fund will have to provide more to that corporation, because the general principle is that every citizen in any part of the country should be able to benefit from what the country has to offer in the policies and programs for all its citizens. Right?
Thank you, Dr. Rowley. And we could move on to our other question from the audience.
Pleasant good night. Dr. The Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley, Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. All other protocols being properly established, I beg to move on. Dr. Rowley, I have been seeing Paul Monglas, former councillor for Sangre Grande Northeast. I have been seeing 2 videos making the rounds on social media that has me a bit frightened. One of which has a target over your heart, and the next one, I don't even think I want to speak about it, but seeming to promote violence with words such as matic and all those other words. And that has me frightened. As we change the system of local government, we also have to change the mindset of the people, of the communities. And as it relates to the young persons moving forward, if this is what politics is coming to, I don't think it's good for our country. So my question to you, to the young people looking forward, especially looking towards the PNM for leadership, how do we move on from this? And what direction do we go on to in terms of the promotion of violence in our country? Thank you very much.
Thank you for those irresponsible appeal to the baser elements of our society. Unfortunately, there are some people who see political benefit in that, appealing through populism to what they believe will work for them. I think it is irresponsible to be giving that kind of breadth and rank to those kinds of things, because those are tigers. Once you get on their back, you will not be able to dismount. But it's nothing new, you know. It's just something bad. We have grown up in this country since the 60s, as far as I'm aware, where we always copy from North America, music and fashion in clothing. What we're seeing here now, we're copying American politics. And a lot of it is not good. This thing about targeting people personally, lying to the public, falling in love with office and not wanting to give up, all of those are being copied from the United States. Unfortunately, some people believe that it is good politics and there's benefit to be had. Fortunately, this society, the vast majority of people in this society will reject that kind of development because it's dangerous.
Thank you, Dr. Rowley. Our other question.
Good night, Dr. Rowley. My name is Aidan Tate. All protocols. Yes, thank you. My name is Aidan Tate. I'm from the Sangre Grande Northeast constituency. My question to you is concerning reform. We have a culture in our country where laws are passed, reforms like what we are undertaking here in local government take place, and as it trickles down to the ground at the corporation level, in this case, the work that is needed to be done to see it all come together in the way that it's envisioned is difficult to see or to come by. People are not committed to work. They would like to collect a paycheck at the end of the week or the month, so on, but the work is not put in. If in the current state, as we have it now, the local government isn't functioning, for example, cutting the recreation grounds, or this has been going on for years. What assurances or what does the legislation or reform compel? How does it compel the local government and those beneath local government to do the work that is necessary in order to make this reform really what it is supposed to be?
Well, there are two things that converge there. One is the general poor work ethic that can be observed in many parts of our nation. I'm not here singling out any particular worker or group of workers, but we would be less than honest if we do not accept that we have issue with our national work ethic. So whatever we do, reform or no reform, the whole question of work ethic should have to remain a matter of concern. And secondly, is the role of management in managing the resources, including the human resources that are assigned to functions. You know, about a year or so ago, we decided to proceed. Cabinet gave clearance for the board of WASA to proceed with a restructuring program. And in that restructuring program, this same issue came up about work ethic and, of course, cost to the taxpayer. And when the union was asked what do they have to say about this change that is going to be made at WASA, and where an allegation is that people were not performing for the money they were getting, you know what the union leader said? Quite correctly. He said that is a matter for management. That is a matter for management. If management can't manage the workers, that is management's problem. And that is a national issue. But we can't allow this truism, this truth, to prevent us from reaching for a transformed local government. We have to make the transformation and expect that in that transformation, some of these very issues will be addressed for the benefit and betterment of the society.
Thank you, Dr. Rowley. We'll continue with our questions again. Name, location.
Good evening, Prime Minister.
Good night. Good night.
All protocols observed. My name is Pedro Malvin. I'm from Mover. Prime Minister, you made the point that the national budget, the government gets revenue from oil and gas. Wouldn't we get further revenue from an operational point of view, oil refinery? In addition to that, the lean depth of the assets has been the major sticking points for most bidders. Can the government deal with that lean situation once and for all? The finance minister, Colum Imbud, said that he would have dealt with it. That has not been a reality. So I'm saying that we need to deal with that to get our refinery operational. The Minister of National Resources from Guyana said that he will love to do business with Trinidad and Tobago. The union here and this government has a wonderful relationship with Guyana. That is a plus. Would there be a consideration, sir, for you to revisit patriotic bid in the interest of the nation and regional security and CARICOM?
I got the first part of the question, which was about the refinery. Let me, for the nth time, say what the story is with that refinery. That refinery had a purpose. The purpose was for refining oil. We in Trinidad and Tobago do not produce a significant amount of oil as we used to. There was a time when that refinery was refining as much as 230,000 barrels of oil per day. Some of it was imported and refined there, but the majority of it was coming from Trinidad. Over the years, as the oil fields produce less and less, because it is a diminishing resource as you extract it, we got to the point where currently we are producing in total about 60,000 barrels a day. And we were importing sometimes over 100,000 barrels of oil per day and refining it. So we went from being a producer of oil that needed to refine that oil to an importer of oil for refining business. That was losing money on a scale that could not have been sustained. Had we not stopped the refining business, the losses that we were incurring there, which would have been losses to the Minister of Finance because the government was underwriting Petrotrin debt. Because even as I speak to you now, since 2018 to now and for the years ahead, the Minister of Finance is still servicing on a regular basis 50 million, 30 million US dollars for Petrotrin. But we also had a huge foreign debt, foreign account debt that had to be serviced in 2018 in a way that we could hardly have afforded. The restructuring allowed the country to treat with those problems. In short, we came out of the refining business. The refinery, as it exists now, we always said from the beginning, and we are saying now, if there is anybody with their oil who would like to refine it at Pointe-a-Pierre, we can have some kind of arrangement that the refinery can be made available. So far, there has been no reasonable, serious proposal made for the use of that refinery. Because refineries going back into business after they have been shut out is not a simple business. It is usually a very difficult business, and sometimes it never happens. Right now, the last time we checked, there were about 18 refineries around the world that had been shut down and didn't come back into business. Some of them right close to us here in Aruba and Curacao. Right? So, because the refinery is there, shut down, does not mean that the government is trying to restart it. We have come out of it because we don't have oil to refine and not lose money. Right? The Guyanese oil is another story. Because there is oil in Guyana does not mean that they will come looking for our refinery. The oil in Guyana does not belong in majority to the Guyana government. It belongs to Exxon and Hess and Phillips and all the oil companies who have other arrangements for refining their oil. It's publicly known across the world that we have a refinery. We've gone out with RFPs, we've spoken to companies, we've even spoken to our friends in Guyana. But until they indicate that they have an interest, there isn't much that we can do, right? Because the Guyanese oil is not going to flow to Trinidad because we are friendly with Guyana. Oil is an international business. And the people who drill and find oil in Guyana, they come there with their arrangements in place. If someday one of them decide that they would like Trinidad and Tobago to be the place where they will refine some oil, they'll be very welcome.
So, Prime Minister, if patriotic returns with a bid, right, that suits what you're looking for, would they get the refining?
Well, let's put it this way. Before anybody else had been given the opportunity to make a bid for that refinery, that opportunity was given to Patriotic. And they were found not to have anything to contribute with respect to taking on that kind of assignment. It was as a result of them failing to use the monopolistic arrangement up front that the government then went open to other people. And even then, they were given an opportunity to come back in with others and put in a proposal. They have put in a proposal which the government found unacceptable. And of course, if they ever put in a proposal that is acceptable, the government will not turn it away.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rowley. We have another question here from the audience.
The Honorable Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, all our government ministers and senators, and our 8 standard bearers who will be bringing victory to the People's National Movement on August the 14th. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Prime Minister, I have a question, but I also want to make a statement. My question will come after. Mr. Prime Minister, I want to commend and congratulate you on the recent award that was bestowed upon you by Howard University.
Thank you very much.
And Mr. Prime Minister, you are bringing international recognition to us here in Trinidad and Tobago. Because the 50th CARICOM Summit was held here in Trinidad and Tobago, and we had the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres coming in, and he also lauded you, Prime Minister, with your contribution to climate change. He said that you made such a wonderful contribution with respect to climate change. And Mr. Prime Minister, at this moment, we are hosting the Commonwealth Youth Games.
Yes, we are.
And I was totally surprised to see the amount of countries that are participating in these Commonwealth Youth Games. And you know, Mr. Prime Minister, the president of the Commonwealth Youth Games said it was the best opening she has ever seen. Apart from that, Mr. Prime Minister, when the COVID-19 was declared a pandemic in 2020, March 2020, by the Director General of the World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, he immediately, you, Prime Minister, you took the concern of all your citizens. You showed that measure of concern, and immediately you got your Minister of Health and all your senior medical personnel, Dr. Roshan Parashram, Dr. Miriam Abdul-Richards, and all the other medical experts you had here, because you know why, Prime Minister? You were very concerned about the welfare of the citizens of this country. And you put measures in place, Mr. Prime Minister. You see, that parallel healthcare system, that gives the opposition leader a tabanka. She can't overcome that tabanka, up to now. And you know why, Prime Minister? Just about 2 weeks ago, Dr. Ghebreyesus was here, and in his words, he described the parallel healthcare system. The adjective he used was unique. It was unique. That needs a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. And ladies and Mr. Prime Minister, the opposition leader never supported any of the measures that were put in place so that we could take charge of that COVID-19 virus. As a matter of fact, she was always advocating that all the health personnel should be put in prison because they were killing people. But you know, she was calling for a commission of inquiry. And I was wondering, Mr. Prime Minister, when she was there as Prime Minister of this country, the life support program that was supposed to cost 6 million went to 400 million. We should have a commission of inquiry into that. The Beaton wastewater project was supposed to cost 600 million. It went to 1.2 billion. And then...
Okay, so sorry to cut you off there, but in the interest of time, right. we are enjoying the discourse there. Don't get me wrong. But in the interest of time, we would like you to get to the question.
Mr. Prime Minister, I want the people to know when she is asking for a commission of inquiry, yet for all when she was in government and all these things happening, thieving and wasting our money, She never asked for a commission of inquiry.
Well, you see, I'm very grateful for the recognition of the issues that you've raised. But you see, there's something called politics, which some people genuinely believe has a morality of its own. And therefore, some of these differences and difficult things that you mentioned can be explained in that way. But let us end tonight on the note, on your presentation, that thankfully in Trinidad and Tobago, we have alternatives. We have an alternative. So what wasn't happening, what was wrong, we try to make right, and what wasn't being done, we try to get done. And that is what local government reform is about now. We're trying to get that done. So the next phase of our development would be local government reform.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rowley.
I want to tell you that we are indeed very...
Okay, sir. Okay, sir, thank you.
Mr. Prime Minister.
You still have the question? After all that, you still have the question?
Well, I wanted to, to make sure...
Okay, all right. Let's have your question then.
Right. How will local government reform benefit the security aspect of our life in Trinidad and Tobago, since crime is the #1 problem? Could you tell us how local government will be able, how we will benefit the country, that is, from local government reform? I thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, most directly, we are going to have a municipal police service that will engage in some measure of increased patrolling. The municipal police also should be able to be a bit of eyes and ears for the national police, in that they would be interfacing with local people, and should be able to be the police officers who know more about local people than the national police. Because if you have to wait for somebody to come from Arima or Port of Spain to deal with a burglary, or to tell you where the drug block is, or to tell you who is the local human trafficker, I think the community police should be able to have that information first, and to be able to assist the wider national police with it. So those situations alone should allow local government police to play a significant role in safety and security. In some areas, you do have the whole question of a coastline where people are trying to enter the country in every single bay. And this corporation has locations where foreigners try to come into the country. The local police would have that information. So municipal police should be a good bellwether for all of these kinds of issues that could help the national police to manage some of these safety and security issues. And of course, insofar as providing a police presence in places like panyards, schools, recreation grounds, when people are gathered and so on, to ensure that they keep the peace and that they encourage a relationship between the community and the police. So that's what we're expecting local government to do with respect to safety and security.
Thank you, Dr. Rowley. I see we have another question here from the audience.
Good night, Dr. Rowley.
Good night, sir.
My name is Kennedy Maxime. Coming from Fishing Pond, Manzalina. And I observed that the UNC had closed down all youth camps for youths. And I would like to know if the local reform could invest back into youth camps so that the youths throughout Trinidad and Tobago, if you observe, it have a lot of youth wasting a whole day. And at one time, it had young men from here in Sandy Grande, so as to go quite to Chatham and Carnage to go to a youth camp. So I'd like to know if local reform could invest back in youth camp so a lot of youth wouldn't be wasting a whole day.
I don't know whether immediately that would be something that will come to local government, but what I could tell you, that at the national level, because of the urgency of your understanding of the situation, at the national level, we have a brand new ministry of youth development and national service that is treating with that issue across Trinidad and Tobago. Well, you see, we are opening back up all of these youth camps. I'm sorry that Minister Cummings isn't here tonight, because at this point I would have asked him to make a quick intervention. But what we have been doing is refurbishing and reopening those centers, and in some cases repurposing them as we. So
I would love to know that Sandy Grande could be included.
Yes,
with a trade center or a youth camp, because the distance from Port of Spain.
Well, I'm sure something is on the cards for Sandy Grande, because the policy is to go back out and ensure that youths across the country get back access to those training opportunities.
That's right.
So Sandy Grande will be, but insofar as it being a local government thing, what I can see envisioning is that somewhere along the way, local government could play a role in managing the opportunities or creating and establishing or sustaining the opportunities that will come to young people who take part in these kinds of programs. We don't want the door shut and go on a rail and say only this could happen or only that could happen. If the local government arrangements provide opportunities for us to deliver better through those systems, then that should be considered. But it all boils down to the kind of management and responsibilities that will be the transformed local government.
Okay.
I just have one suggestion.
Yes,
because I live at Plum Road, Manzalina. And at least the topic today is the broken road on the beach. And what I observe is not the first time the road has been in that situation. It's at least 4 times. And it will happen again when we get excessive rain. So I would like to know if, at least I would like you to be in Sandy Grande a little more regular, so that you can come and see the natural, what happened. But what I am suggesting is that if engineers could develop a new road to Miaro, or if you will repair the one that we're moving on right now.
It is because of where the road is located. As I mentioned earlier, the road is located on a very narrow strip of sand, of sand between the ocean and the lagoon. It is, the engineers have spent some time looking at the problem, and the hydraulics have allowed them to design, I think there are going to be 4 crossings, where once the lagoon water has increased, there will be crossings under the new road to go out to the sea. Because what exists now is that once the water rises in the lagoon, it cannot get to the sea except by breaking through the road. And because it is sand, once it begins to break the road, the foundation of the road goes, because it washes the sand out. So what they're doing, they're raising the road a little bit at 4 points and put crossings in there so that you don't have this uncontrolled breaking of the road by the lagoon water. So the engineers have designed it. I'm not pretending to be an engineer here. I understand the explanation from the minister, and work is underway with that. When that work is complete, we would still be on the same narrow strip of land going to Mayaro, but we would have created drainage arrangements where flooding from the lagoon should not destroy the road.
Okay.
Thank you.
Because at one time, if you remember, just one more thing, Mr. Surud Rabelchan, the minister of work at the time, just like how the election coming now, they was in a rush. and they had done some job up there, and it was just a waste of time.
Okay,
So
sir.
I'm hoping that this time things could be better, and at least it wouldn't be like what he had done.
Well, a bit more engineering is going on, and it's not cheap. What we're spending some money on it, and we're hoping to get a road that could survive the floods from the lagoon in the future.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rowley. Thank you, sir. We'll have another question.
Good night, good night.
Good night.
Good night, Prime Minister Dr.
Good night,
Christopher
sir.
Rowley. My name is Hudson McClutchy from Toko.
Speak into the mic a bit, please, so I can hear you, right?
My name is Hudson McClutchy from Toko.
From Toko?
Yeah.
Right.
I have two questions to discuss, two things to discuss. Number one, the roads in Toko, from Toko to Matlot, the agriculture roads is years. When I tell you years, vehicle can't go to the lands. Children lost their grandparents' places, their land, because they are abandoned and they can't get access to it. You go see them on the corner, linemen all over the place. Agriculture was one of the main things supporting the whole of Trinidad and Tobago from Toko. And years, this not happening anymore. You understand? So the young children and them can't go to the parent or the grandparent estate no more. Right? And the next thing is concerning the fishing depots in Toko. The fishermen them losing the engine, they're losing the boat, because the areas they have no guards, nobody. When they park their boat in the night, people thieving the engine, thieving the boat. Toko people crying. The whole of Toko crying right now. The children have no jobs because the years going on, we used to go in the estate with our parents. Children knows nothing about agriculture again. The whole of if you go in the corner, you go see these little boys linemen all in the corner when the evening and the morning come. The only thing supporting them right now is these little CPAP work. And county might they're going to do a little 10 days by county or whatever it is. Look after Toko. I don't know if the reform go include Toko, because year go, year come, government go, and nobody is studying Toko at all. Toko is a paradise. And nobody is looking up to Toko. We have nothing in Toko to support the youths and them. So I don't know what it is you could do, that you could look after Toko, that you could smile, for them to smile and say, yes, Dr. Rowley, lift up your head and raise me to heaven.
Okay, thank you.
I must say that I'm familiar with much of what you have just said there, because the development program in the Toko area needs to be lifted. We had a problem with the school, as you know, the whole secondary school had to be replaced. We know that the road was not up to standard. You would have seen us making an effort. We finished one phase. We're just about to embark on the second phase, and we're going to bring you. And the opportunities for people will come as the connections improve, and we are aiming to improve infrastructure in the Toko Sangre Grande area. And that I mentioned earlier on, one of the reasons why we have gone and sourced a new quarry site in the Toko area is to focus on improving road infrastructure along the North Coast and in Toko and so on. So we're not unaware of it, and we are putting some priority into it, so you will see some improvement.
Yeah, you see, Doc, they're focusing on the main road, but it's the access road that brings food to the country. The gardeners and them cannot go to the access road. Well, they cannot get the produce come out.
What I should have said, sir. What I thought I was said is that an agricultural access road program, which really is, again, a local government responsibility, but sometimes you usually have to have a national input into it to ensure that local government has something to deliver. So the need for the agricultural access road in the whole program of improving the country's food security we will expect that Toko and other areas in this part will play a role. We are currently encouraging young people, the same young people you talked about who are standing by the roadside. We are expanding some programs to encourage a new generation of farmers, and I'm sure that the ministry that is doing that would look to Toko Sanigrandi, with the assistance of the MP, of course, to get that program into this area so that some of those same young people can benefit by becoming, by being afforded opportunities to enter the training programs and to come out as farmers from some of those training programs. So if you're not already in the program, I'm pretty sure that you will get involved in that program.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rowley. So,
Doc, the fishing arena, what you could do with that? For the fishermen and them.
Okay, sir, and we have a couple more questions there, so we'll have to shift to them, correct?
We will look at what the area needs and see how the development program could impact it. If your fishing facilities have been destroyed or they're not functioning, we need to look at it and try to get it on the development program so that you can be outfitted again.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Rowley. Ladies and gentlemen, we are getting very pressed for time at this point in time, so we just have time for a couple more questions.
A pleasant good night to my loving and handsome honorable Dr. Keith Rowley. It's a pleasure to have you in Sandy Grande again in this pleasant and loving mood. I just love the mood that you are in. My name is Simon Peters. I am from the Northeast, and I would like to ask two questions. I'm a public servant, and I've been hearing a lot of stuff about back pay and stuff, but I wanted answer straight from you when we will be getting something. The cleaners, the nurses, we work very hard, and dealing with the public when they come we love caring for them. We work very hard, and I believe that we deserve something. It's been a while. And as most of us are single parents, most of us women are married, but you could say single still.
Really?
Well, yeah. Well, we work hard. We work harder than some of these men, you know, and we deserve something, and it's been a while, you know. And another question, my beloved Prime Minister, is that I would like to applaud the CPEP workers. They do a very great job. Yeah. And I wish that more contracts could be given to them and raise the pay a little. If you take a bus or a maxi or whatsoever, they have Trinidad and Tobago roadsides looking very clean and nice, and you can lie down on the street. Yeah. You know? A question. My daughter applied for NHA house, HGC. Sorry, for about she's been waiting for a while now, a few years now. She had gotten a letter with a code on it. I went to my beloved MP, Mr. Roger Monroe. I got a letter they sent, you know, and I see they distributing houses, and people who now come getting houses, and my daughter is years. I would like to know what is really going on.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right.
Just no, thank you, ma'am. It's been a while I haven't spoke to my Prime Minister, okay? And with due respect, my Prime Minister, may God continue to bless you and your family. And on August the 14th, we are going to click this finger on the People National Movement. Put our X by the Balize. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for your kind words and also for raising some very difficult issues. The issue I want to respond to is the whole question of when will the public servants get something? Now, you know, we have come out as a country, we have come out of a very difficult period. And actually, I think we're still in some of it. The public servants, very early in the life of this government, got a significant payment. There was a 15% increase that was paid at the beginning, I think that was in 2016. That cost almost $6 billion, a 15% increase. Then we went into a even more difficult period. And therefore, when we made an offer to public servants, because of affordability issues, that offer could only have been made at the level of 4%, but available immediately. Quite a few of the unions have come around to accepting that. And as the government is saying, once we get that out of the way, we hope we can move very quickly into the next triennium where we hope a better offer could be on the table. Many unions have accepted that position and are in the process of getting the little something that you're asking for. And of course, that triggers the negotiation for the next period. Unfortunately, you said you're a public servant, and your union is one of those unions which has the matter being adjudicated upon in the industrial court, which is the process. If the government has made an offer, it's the government's final offer, and the union doesn't agree with it, and the union think that it can get a better offer, that is now done by the industrial court, where the matter is. So whatever you are going to get is dependent on the matter being concluded in the court. And of course, when that is concluded, whatever the court says is what is going to be the government's instructions. And then we go on to the next triennium. We are hoping that the economy will continue to show some bright lights and that we can make public servants a better offer. I agree with you that public servants, you know, you're working hard and you would like to know that you're getting some improvement and a little money in your hand. You like, you know, your back pay is due and so on. But the process that you are engaged in is one that apparently will not do that for you tomorrow. But we are still hoping that sometime in the not too distant future that this matter will end, and that whatever public servants are to get, it's now with the tribunal, and once there's a ruling for the government's instructions, then I can give you the assurance that the Minister of Finance will move very quickly to ensure that public servants get what they're supposed to get. And also, we move immediately into discussions for the next triennium. Right? So that is what I can say to you on that score. On the question of the NHA house or the HDC house, It's all a question of availability. And you know, it's not a first come, first serve arrangement. There are a number of other considerations that go into the allocation of people getting houses. Whether it's the size of the family, the condition in which the family is. There's an evaluation that is made at there. But what you have to bear in mind, that the last time I checked or I heard, the HDC was dealing with over 100,000 applicants. So your daughter's name is a grain of rice in a bag of rice. And we only have in every year about 2,000 or 3,000 houses. So 2,000 or 3,000 people with a case made and so on would be lucky and happy. But there's still 97,000 that will not be satisfied, which is why we have gone to do other things to assist people with housing rather than waiting for an HDC house in that situation where there are tens of thousands of people who quite reasonably cannot be served by the current rate at which the public sector housing is generating houses. Even at the best rate of production, we were not able to break the back on that. And at that time, we had 40-something thousand applicants. Now, even if one takes out the double applications and so on, you're still talking about 60 or 70,000 people. But we do have a housing program, and therefore, there's still the prospect that your daughter, if she's an applicant of 10 years or so, she should be really among those who are in line to get one of what we're doing now or in the very near future. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rowley. Ladies and gentlemen, in the interest of time, I know we could continue this conversation for much more hours, but we will now turn to our final question of the night.
Hi, good night, Mr. Prime Minister.
Good night.
And everyone else here. My name is Shirley Kerr. I'm from Old Plum Road, Mansalina. I'm representing Ms. Mohan from Fishing Pond, Mansalina Fishing Pond. I come here to beg, right? Not only for me, but for the people at Old Plum Road, Mansalina.
Old Plum Road?
Mansalina, yes. For the past 40-something years, we having problems. Number one, with the road, it's in a deplorable state. Also the drainage, we have a problem with that because when rain fall, the water come in the road and it gets it more worse for the people of Old Plum Road to get in or get out.
Is it a paved road or a dirt
part
road?
of the road it paved because they usually pave the both side of the road. It's a main road, access road to the Mansalina Road. So if you are aware of going to the Mansalina Beach, it have a guest house by the name of Dougie's. That road will take you back up. Well, the Plum Road, which is in the Plum Return Road, is like a circular. So if you're coming into that road, if any, like, say for instance, if the road block in the Old Plum Road, you could also pass through that road to get to the other end. So I don't know if you're aware of that, but I know those who...
I have a vague idea.
Right. So it will look like the whole road...
Where is that in relation to the nursery, the agriculture nursery?
Say what?
Where is that in relation to the nursery?
That is in map. Okay, so in the Plummeton Road, you could go to the Mappa farm as well. So it's not that road I'm mainly speaking about. I'm speaking about the Old Plum Road extension.
Okay, all right. I have a vague idea here.
Right. So
and you said Plum Road extension.
Yes.
But so Plum Road is in fact the main road.
Yes. So it has Plummeton Road.
Right.
And it also have Plum Road.
Okay, I know what you're talking about now.
Yes.
Carry on.
Right. So my problem what I have in is that they usually fix the both side of the road so that if anybody passing, it will look like the whole road fixed. The main part where everybody live, the road bad. And to get in and get out, it hard. So sometimes when you have to get groceries, where you have to take out stuff out the road, because as a farmer, I plant a lot of mixed crops, watermelon, peppers, okra, tomatoes, name it. That's what I do. So it is be hard to get in and get out because of the bad road. Also, we need street lights. As I say, I'm not speaking for me alone, I'm speaking for everybody in the area. We need street light there. We also need the garbage truck to come regular. They don't. And water. We have problems with water. Real problems. Which part I live in is on a little incline. So whenever they open the water, the pressure level is real low. So most of the time we don't get water at all. And when they do send the water come late in the night. And it makes no sense that you're waking up as a single parent and you're getting up that hour of the night and filling your tanks and them things. Sometimes it comes for like 3 hours and they cut it off by 5. So that is my main problem. Also, one more thing before I leave. As I say, I'm not speaking on my behalf, but I speak for everybody. I have children going to the old Plum Road School, Presbyterian School, and right which part the Mappa farm, the junction is to the Mappa farm, it have a pavement there. That pavement fall more than 12 to 13 years. And as year go, year come, especially when election close, is promises, and it's nothing being done. The councillor of the area, his name is Kenwin Phillip. He lives at the old Plum Road, Mancelina, at the same district where I live. He aware of the situation. I'm afraid to even go to him to ask him for anything, because, I mean, if he's seeing what's taking place, why should I go and tell him that the pavement needs fixing or so on? Right by that said corner, that is a dangerous corner. Children do walk back and forth from school, right? It have a lot of trucks and cars that be passing, right? I don't know, to my knowledge, I would like, if they can't fix the pavement right away, the wall that's fallen, if they could put like the wrong mirror so that the taxis or the vehicles or whatever coming back and forth, they could see the children walking down to the street to get to school and back, which I will be happy if they do so, because...
Are we still on the extension or on this Plum Road
no,
side?
I come out of the road now. So we're speaking about the mapper on the Plum Midtown Road, where the Plum Road Presbyterian School is.
That's on the main road?
That is on the main road, yes. So it have a corner there. It is very dangerous. So.
Okay, let me say how lucky you are tonight. Because much of what you have raised there for your community, I've taken note of, and we have 2 ministers here tonight who would have heard what you've said.
Yes.
And I want to give you the assurance that you did not waste your time.
I do appreciate that. When I heard that you was coming tonight, I had some melon was the spray, because it's 4 days now I plant a field melon. And when I heard you was coming tonight, I was having my lunch, which was 4 o'clock this afternoon. I didn't have anything during the day. And I got along that food real fast. When one of my girlfriends from Mancelina district, she called me and she told me that Mr. Dr. Rowley will be here tonight. I was like, you serious? I find my jersey real quick. And I called my driver and I tell him, I say, listen, you have to take me out to Mancelina. I had to go tonight. I'm so happy to be here tonight, to get to see you in person. I'm really proud of myself, and I'm really happy to see you.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You have been a really, really outstanding advocate for your community. We have the Minister of Works.
Yes.
I think she deserves a round of applause. The Minister of Works and Transport is here. He will talk to the Minister of Local Government as well. And we have the Minister of Public Utilities, who would look into your lights and water situation. And I would give you the assurance that you have not wasted your effort.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Rowley. Ladies and gentlemen, I know we have a number of questions. Again, there's one more that I would like to allow. I cannot not allow former councillor, Mr. Terry Rondon, would like to make a comment here. I'm wondering if somebody could help him with the mic. It would be remiss of me if I don't allow that, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Rondon.
Thank you. A pleasant evening to each and everyone. All protocol observed. It will be remiss of me if I did not come here tonight. Barring my health challenges, I must make it possible to be here tonight. You see, 2017, a cabinet committee, subcommittee, I was invited together with Mayor Paul, Anthony Roberts, two gentlemen who versed in local government, individual from the Ministry of Finance, Public Utilities, Social Services, Legal Affairs, Health. And we met for 5 months, twice per week, and we make recommendation to the minister then, Franklin Khan, may his soul rest in peace. And we began going out to the 14 corporations, educating the people. And I could tell you, these community bought in to these recommendations. And I'm a bit peeved when I hear UNC criticizing it. Every corporation we went to, UNC was there. Even today, UNC councillors, it's for local government reform. Folks, this is the best thing. I listened to Dr. Rowley there tonight, and what is there for local government. And I was going to ask him, pull back nomination dinner. I mean, send him my papers. Yeah, because I would have make mass with what going to take place in local government. Councillors, well, I could call you all councillors because I'm sure you all getting in inside there. You all make good uses of this. I'm begging you all, if you all go in there and don't make uses of it, you are all a one-term councillors. You got to go inside there and work, and remember, you're working for the people. And you have the opportunity. You know how nice it would be for me when Ms. Graves and Matter call and say the school toilet need repairing, and I could go immediately. I don't have to wait on MTS to go up to Matter. You know how nice it would be for me when they have a flood disaster in Matter. When they talk about fire is the first responder, if fire was the first responder, I will be a fire chief because I always there before. And you have it, although work with it, work with it. And another thing, my advice to you all, many a time I've seen with councillors, especially when the party is in power, they feel like the boss. Your accounting officer is the CEO, and you work with your CEO. In so doing, a CEO could make you, a CEO could break you. You work with it, and don't do like I see the UNC councillor doing in Grandy. They perceive these people are PNM. Folks, on the 15th of August, and You know the 15, the 14 you win, the 15 you open the playing field and let your policy be good for one, good for all. So folks, I am here today to give you all the advice. Last but not least, Dr. Rowley, I want to compliment Coordinator MP Monroe and his team. That short man walking, That short man walking, and I know he's bringing home the seat for the corporation. And all the gift I want for the 28 years that I serve this party is for us to get back the corporation. That is the gift I want. So I thank you all, and there's a great love for the people of Toko, Sandy Grande for me, and I say thanks to them for that 28 years, the service they have given to me. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Terry Rondon. And ladies and gentlemen, I wish we could stay and take more questions, but unfortunately, we are out of time for this conversations with Dr. Rowley right now. I would like to turn you over to Dr. Rowley for some brief closing comments.
Thank you very much, Viash. My comments would be thank you. I want to thank all of you who've taken the time to come out tonight to talk about these very important matters for community and for country. And I want to give a special thank you to those persons who have offered themselves to represent us at local government in Sandy Grande. You see, it is all well and good to be a part of the campaign, but at the end of the day, those in the kitchen will be feeling more heat. You're running a very good campaign. There's 1 week to go. Don't let up. Preach the gospel of the PNM and the gospel of local government reform. Don't be distracted. Stay on the job. Let's win this corporation and demonstrate the promise of local government reform. Thank you very much, and get home safely. Thank you all.